A shootout type of game. Is it on the way here with Penn State losing an all-important defensive back? Johnny Dixon is very good, and it would have been nice to have him against Ole Miss's passing attack that sports not one, not two, but three capable wide receivers that are all talented, and are all veterans too. Trey Harris, Dante Wade, and Jordan Watkins. It just means there's more responsibility for Cam Miller. And we'll see what how Penn State approaches it. I think they'll have the safeties step up in coverage. So that's why I don't know that this does turn into a high scoring, fast pace where Penn State just totally obliterates its game plan, because that's not going to be how Penn State approaches Ole Miss. You don't get into a shootout with Ole Miss because that's exactly what they want. That is exactly what they want. And what Penn State can do to counter this is the 10, 11 dozen play drives that are just slow and methodical ball control, wear out the defense so that eventually they keep bending, and then they break. And then they don't respond later on in the game. And that's why it's so important to have Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen and Trey Potts, because those guys are going to be at 100%. That defense, if Penn State does this right, for Ole Miss, will not have the energy to go with them for a full 4 quarters. And especially if Ole Miss's offense, runs at that same rate of they're averaging between plays about 18 to 20 seconds. That is fast. So meaning that it hurts Ole Miss's defense. And then if Penn State just keeps them out there on the field, do I think Penn State can keep up with Ole Miss in a shootout? Absolutely. Does Penn State want to be in that situation? No. No, you don't. I would think with the former 5-star quarterback, getting Trey Wallace back, having Theo Johnson, Tyler Warren, both available in this game, and then Keandre Lambert-Smith, Caden Saunders, Liam Clifford, Malik McClain, and don't forget about Dante Cephas, who really now should know the playbook by now at this point. So yes, Penn State can go up against Ole Miss in a shootout, but that's how they want to play this game. Ole Miss does not want to get into a game where its defense has to stay on the field for a long time, and Penn State plays ball control and tries to wear them out. So that's the formula to do it. Ole Miss's defense is okay. They're above average. They played SEC competition, so you're going to see some lapses in coverage and lapses in tackling and stuff because they played, better competition. But it's not like Michigan and Ohio State's defense. Ohio State's defense for the regular season had the number 1 pass defense. Michigan was top 5 in those categories as well. And that's what Penn State went up against. When you're looking at Ole Miss in comparison, top 50 in both passing and defending the run. So I don't think a shootout game is going to happen. I think it's going to be 27-24 Penn State. And I think they'll probably be up by 10 going into the 4th quarter, and then Ole Miss will get a late touchdown to make this a closer game, make it a little more interesting in this case. But Penn State's identity is that they're not going to. So let me explain this. Andy Kotelnicki is on staff, but he's observing. This is not his offense. This is not an early version of his offense. This is still what Mike Yurcich started and what Jay One-Sider and Ty Howell are now fixing and keeping it together, because you can't do that in a month's time. All right, new offensive coordinator, let's learn a completely different system, because that's how you create a lot of confusion and a lot of mistakes. And let's do it all in 30 days before a bowl game that has no season implications. It does not affect 2023, and it does not affect 2024. So this is still Penn State's offense from 2023. What does that mean? What did they do all season? They played ball control. They wore out defenses. They relied on the ground game first, and Drew Aller did everything in his power not to turn the football over. When I look at that passing prop, and I've already brought this up in the preview, 182 yards, that's too low. Do I think Drew Aller has something around 250? Maybe, but something that's a 300, 350, 400-yard game is not in the cards for this Penn State team. It's not. The offense still is what it is. Do I think Keandre Lambert-Smith, Dante Cephas, and whoever's that third wide receiver for them, Trey Wallace, collectively, have they gotten better? Well, they have to, because there really wasn't anywhere else to go since they just had an underwhelming season. But I think building that chemistry, understanding the plays a little better, resting, right? There's all that time to rest and rejuvenate. those guys together can have a passing attack that can keep up with Ole Miss. But Ole Miss, they want that, and you don't want to play into Ole Miss's hands and just say, "Well, we can do it, so we might as well play to it." No, that's not the case here. Let's go back to Ole Miss's schedule, and LSU had the top offense in the country, and it wasn't even close. They were the best in terms of yards per play. And whatever. Brian Kelly, kudos to him, right? Good for him. But Ole Miss won that game. They were able to outscore the best offense in the country. So that's what I'm saying. You were playing right into the wheelhouse, the skill set of this team. You don't want to do that. You want to freeze this offense out. You want to make them go ice cold. You want them to sit on the sideline because that's how they get into a rhythm. They outscored LSU 55-49. Best offense, best offense in the country. And that's what they were able to do, even though they went 10-2 and are in this New Year's Six Bowl, not in the college football playoff, just like Penn State. But my point is, don't do what Ole Miss wants to do. They want to turn this into an offensive game, make it a defensive game, get pressure, and then keep that offense on the sideline. I think Penn State will stick to that plan no matter what. If they do have to make some adjustments, well, that's how that separates good coaches from bad coaches. If they have to make adjustments, they get down. I think that Penn State has enough to get back in and stay in the game with Ole Miss in case something does happen. A fluke turnover. You never know. You never know what could happen early on in the game that dictates the pace of it. But if Penn State does fall behind by 2 scores, they can keep up with Ole Miss if they have to. You don't want to because it does play into Ole Miss's game plan. That's how they want to approach it. I say that Penn State still keeps it under wraps. They have the better defense. They're better in the trenches. They have running backs. I think Quinshon Judkins is very good and is comparable to Singleton and Allen, but Penn State has Singleton and Allen. Ole Miss just has Judkins, okay? And Penn State just overall, I think, is a more talented team, even with the opt-outs of Johnny Dixon and Chop Robinson now. But shootout game, it's possible, but it's not likely because that's not how Penn State wants to play this game. They want to be the exact same team they were all season, ground and pound, control the line of scrimmage, good defense to set up the offense, and the offense just plays a clean game, no turnovers, and is just methodical for the entirety of 4 quarters. And because Ole Miss's defense is not great, they're above average. They're above average, and they played SEC competition, so those numbers are a little inflated. But this is not a top tier defense. So Penn State will be able to move the football, and that's why I think it's 27-24 because Ole Miss can score at will, but it's going to be a little tougher against this Penn State defense.